Not really. Um, I guess, New Jersey just took all those influences and it came out in a certain hard rocking kind of way. I mean, there's all sorts of New Jersey music. There's great country in New Jersey. There's soul. I mean, growing up in North Jersey, South Orange to be exact, right next to Newark, I saw some great soul bands down on Broad and Market Street. And um, I think that what's happened in the last few years of music, really the last 10 years, there's very little regionalism in music anymore. You can't really pinpoint, like you could in the 60s and the 50s, a New York sound, a Memphis sound. You know, there are aspects of it, but on the radio, you don't really hear it. I mean, you'll hear, REM and their regional type sound. You'll hear like a Hooters or a John Eddy who's got a Philadelphia East Coast kind of sound. Of course, our band has a certain sound that's become popular. Uh, but I think regionalism is really, it's not as important as it once was. Everybody sounds like everybody.
Do you think, or rather, how do you think your impact, your band's impact, will have on the future of music?
Well, if you talk to, for example, I'm 34. When I talk to drummers who are 24, in their early 20s, young bands, they look at our band as one of their main influences. Like we looked at the Stones and the Beatles as influences, and the rockers of the 50s. And you're attempting to become a musician, you listen to everybody to find out what you like and what you can do and what you want to do. So I get a particular kick out of young drummers, especially saying, you're one of my influences. I like the way you play, because I just turn around and say, wow, I can give you 50 guys who I listen to who I'd love to meet and just say, thanks for being there. So I think there's a realness in our music. There's a trueness. There's an intensity that I've never experienced anywhere else, and I believe it comes across on record. This year and a half has been just incredible. Basically what I'm doing now, 3 weeks after the last show that we did, is just gaining a perspective on it, because it changes you. I'm not the same person I was a year and a half ago, and yeah, I hope we're an influence. I hear it when I hear drum sounds. I hear it when I hear certain styles, But that's a natural thing.
Certainly, you've been very inspirational to up-and-coming drummers, not only through your playing, but also through the book that you wrote. Can you tell us a little bit about the book, why you wrote it, and what advice you would give to up-and-coming drummers?
Well, I wrote this book, The Big Beat, during the making of the Born in the U.S.A. album. And the way we generally record is that we go in for a few weeks and then we have a lot of time off. So it was sort of my solo project, my solo album, if you will. And it was a look upward at my heroes, my hero drummers, the people that I listened to as a young kid to become a drummer in the first place. And then I included a half a dozen studio drummers mainly who sort of led me to become a better drummer. And it was a tremendous experience because I learned so much about drumming. I learned so much about myself. It made me a better drummer. It made me aware of things that I was never aware of. It really focused and crystallized my feelings and my belief about the position of the drums in any band, rock and roll, jazz, marching, orchestra, any musical endeavor. What do the drums mean? Well, that's what the Big Beat did to me. On a larger level, basically, it was my attempt to see all my heroes and ask them questions that I'd wanted to ask all my life. Ringo, what was it really like being in the Beatles? I mean, can you tell me that? Can you put it into words? And One of the things I'm sorry about is that it wasn't on film, because the words tell a certain story, but the look on Ringo Starr's face when he talks about his experiences with the Beatles is priceless, because it's all there, it's in his eyes. So it was a look at some of the great rock drummers in rock and roll history, people who had historical importance, as well as the fact that they were great drummers.
And what advice could you give to up-and-coming drummers, aspiring drummers?
Practice, practice, practice. And then keep practicing. And have a dream. And just shoot for that dream. And don't let anything get in your way. And do it with dignity and respect for your instrument and the people you play with. And play every kind of gig you can get. You know, there are things I do on stage with Bruce that I learned doing bar mitzvahs. Basically, watch the leader.
What are some of your greatest moments as a member of the E Street Band?
Well, getting asked to join the E Street Band was certainly among them. Recording Born in the U.S.A. was a high point musically. That was an unbelievably exciting recording session. It was just, you know, one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had, feeling totally connected, totally in the present, and just expressing myself, you know, and it was almost like I wasn't playing the drums. There was very little consciousness about it, and I might be speaking esoterically, but it was like someone else did it. And then all of us standing around, listening back to it, and just looking at each other like, wow, we did that. We just did that. That was you know, really exciting. Like I said, playing the Meadowlands in '81, opening it was, you know, the scream. I will never forget the scream when we hit the stage. It was really exciting. The first couple of stadium shows we did, the whole stadium show experience, the 25 or 30 concerts we did for 85 or 90,000 people, it can't really be described. It's an amazing feeling to be sitting in the middle of that on a drum set and see, you know, a sea of people holding matches up. That was really exciting. You know, you might notice I have a cast on my hand. That's from extreme rocking. and it's not a serious thing, but a few years ago I was faced with the prospect of never playing again. And I had an operation to correct tendinitis. But what that operation did for me, apart from enabling me to physically play, it gave me a focus on what I was doing, and how whenever I hit the stage, I hit it with the feeling that, hey, this could be the last time I'll ever do this. This could be the last show I ever do. So just do it. Give it completely 1,000%. That's probably why I hurt myself, you know, because I try to do that in my playing, and especially this last tour, almost every night was a high point. Looking around at the faces on everybody in the band, and the joy that we're giving ourselves, you know, because when you're up there with the band, it's like, you know, that's our own little enclave. There might be, you know, 50,000 people out there, but it's like we're playing in a small little room, in a way. It's that intimate, it's that relaxed. And, you know, seeing Danny Federici do his solo in Hungry Heart, this big smile come across his face, that's a high point. That's a high point. Having Bruce turn around and just sort of give you, you know, a thumbs up or something, that's a high point too. So those are the little things you take back with you. You know, the spectacle of the big concerts is one type of high point, but it's those little victories that really, those are the things that you remember. Those are the things that I'm focusing on now, you know, after the tour.
That's it.
Okay.